like get significant goals and points off of empty net
Yeah,
goals
remember we
now.
had that conversation? Was it like Hagel or somebody had 14 empty net points last year or something like that?
I don't know who I watched on the weekend. Colorado, maybe. Some guys got one goal. They pull their goalie's got a hat trick. I'm sitting there going, can you really get two empty net goals?
One for the Hattie like Scheifele.
And feel like you scored an NHL hat trick?
So, by the way, speaking of Bruce Boudreau, he tells the end of year story with Minnesota. He and GM Chuck Fletcher, they're doing the exit meetings with the players. And one player who was a pretty prominent player there, just talking about things and then just talking about being used in all situations. And kind of going, well, you're on the power play and you kill penalties and you know what? No, not on the ice enough for the empty net. And he goes, I just looked at Chuck and go, are you kidding? And he goes, and that defined what this player was about as far as individual versus team.
There's many
Pissed
like
he-
that.
Yeah, pissed he's not that. That's more important than the power play. Like, I don't want the power play PK when there's an empty net. I want my apples. That's when I want to be out there.
Well, I mean, if you see oftentimes when the Leaf stars are out there when they're up 2 in the empty net, it's like they turn into the 78 Islanders running into everybody and lifting sticks and trying to get it. The Cookie Monsters come out.
Easy freebie,
Oh,
right?
yeah, absolutely.
And an icing, no icing. Like, we couldn't ice the puck.
Yeah,
we needed to.
They don't
like,
even care about that anymore.
I know it's analytics. I still can't agree with it. I still can't agree with it that you don't take that you got to. I'm sorry. Like in a 1-goal lead, and I've asked that question many times, and they say the analytics says you're better off. That's what you're supposed to do. Take a whack at it and risk the icing. I mean that was a golden rule. You never even dared. It was considered an incredibly selfish play, but now you can hide behind analytics or justify it with analytics.
Yeah. Game time or go to break?
Let's hit a break. We're doing game time in the 6 o'clock hour.
Oh,
we
are.
We should take a break. We should come back. We should talk about Matthews.
Oh, yeah. Lots of talk and the concern on a scale of 1 to 10, Gord. I need a number on Austin Matthews, short-term, long-term repercussions of this latest injury. That and more when we return to Real Kipper and Bourne. Nick Kiprios, Gord Stellick, Sammy McKee in our special 5 p.m. edition of Real Kipper and Bourne. We left for the break.
Yeah, with
Talking
a hook,
about
a hook.
Austin Matthews missed his second consecutive game on what we think is a recurring issue. On a scale of 1 to 10, I asked you before the break, where's your level of concern?
Well, it's higher than it was, say, Friday before I found out. So I'll give it a 7. And I know you want Sammy to answer as well, but Kippy, you and I write some guest columns for the Toronto Star. So Austin Matthews going to Germany just seemed to bring up so much intrigue about what was going on. So I got to reminisce about Wendell Clark staying at Lord Thompson's flat in London, England. Right?
I did read about this.
Yeah.
And you got to listen to this. And not that we're going to derail
the
whole
all the
thing,
time
but
in the world. It's Christmas, baby.
give us
Tell me.
Cole's notes version.
So Clarkie basically, he finished his 3rd year in the NHL and had only played 28 games, had these back issues. And back then, the team doctor was the voice, the god, as far as treatment went. And he said, I like the team doctors, the team medical staff. And they said, well, you could have surgery or your career could be over. And he tried different things, went to the Mayo Clinic, some LC card recommended someone in Chicago, so went there. But then on his own, the richest guy in Canada, Ken Thompson, whose son owns the Winnipeg Jets now.
Okay.
And by the way, Ken Thompson loved the Leafs. He helped Steve Stavro, finance Stavro later on. He called Wendell's representatives, and Clarkie shows up in downtown Toronto in golf shorts and a golf shirt. He goes, do you have something better to wear, kind of whatever? So he set him up. He paid his, we didn't even know. I'm with the Leafs. We didn't even know this. Paid his business class ticket, set him up in his flat in London, England, overlooking Buckingham Palace. And he had his own chauffeur. And Clarkie said, I told the chauffeur to dress down a bit because he was that. And the fridge was stocked and all that. And he was there for 10 days. And he saw this homeopathic doctor that Ken Thompson set up. And it was the first time he made positive gains. And then the guy said, well, let's find someone in Toronto that could carry on the treatment I'm prescribing. And that guy was Chris Broadhurst, who worked at a fitness facility and then became the athletic therapist for the Maple Leafs. And Wendell says for 5 years, of treatments, 2 hours a day. That's what kept him playing. So that was the first about going somewhere to think in the big, to look in the big picture and having successful treatment.
So
Wow.
what was
That's
the
really,
yours
really
and the
interesting.
Leafs' original reaction to hearing that he's going somewhere else? Because we know clubs are very protective.
Yeah.
And to this day, they may feel like they have no other choice but to accommodate your athlete to have a second or third opinion somewhere else. But I would bet you didn't like it too much.
Well, we a little bit about, again, you go, oh, geez, how are our doctors going to feel, right? Which isn't the right way to do it. I mean, Eric Lindros had an issue in Philadelphia with his doctor. We saw Jack Eichel. Well, I mean, part of the Buffalo Sabres mess is because of a difference of opinion about his medical treatment. So that was kind of like, I got a kick out of the story, but it was strange. This 22-year-old kid had to go on his own to try to find a treatment. And that's where it started to grow, Kippy. And I just said, that number one overall pick, then to the next number one overall pick, Austin Matthews. Look how the world is an oyster for everybody. And now the team doctor, it's an ongoing discussion. It used to be the team doctor was the mechanic. And he's working on your car. Go talk to him in the garage.
That was
He's
Harold's
handling it.
guy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But no, I mean, just in general.
Yeah.
Now he's the guy at the desk when you go get your car serviced. You never see the mechanic, but he goes, okay, here's where I'm going to help you. You can go to that guy, or I can send you to Dr. Andrews in Alabama. Well, now there's probably 3 or 4 doctors in North America that handle everything. What's the guy's name in Miniachi or whatever?
Yes.
He's well known.
Yep.
There's certain ones so the team doctor understands that now. Before it was a source of pride. Like with the New York Rangers, they talk about the 1960s, the team doctor was having drinks and playing cards all the time. And he kept wanting to do back surgery on guys. Visiting players would go, and they go, I can do a disc thing, whatever. I don't know. I'm gonna go back home, whatever, and see a disc fusion or something like that. So there was that evolution to now it's understood. The Connor McDavid one was excellent about Jeff Jackson cooperated, his agent, who now is running the Oilers, but showed, I guess in Colorado is where he decided you didn't need surgery. And that's where, talking to some doctors, when you go to other countries, it looks like you're looking for certain treatments to avoid surgery. I don't know this in this case, but quite often that's what you're looking at. So that's why my level of concern is, if this thing isn't getting better, is it one of those that we can ride out the season, address it after the season, or might the clock strike 12 sometime during the season? I don't know.
Leafs facing center crisis amid injuries, eyeing trade market for solutions. As the Toronto Maple Leafs battle through a growing injury list and a suspension, their lack of depth at the center position has become a glaring issue. According to Sportsnet's Elliot Friedman in his latest 32 Thoughts article, the Leafs are among the teams exploring trade options to bolster their lineup. This effort is coming amid increasing competition from teams like the Chicago Blackhawks and Nashville Predators, who have also set their sights on improving their center depth. Friedman didn't mince words about the Leafs' predicament. The teams currently focusing on centers, including Chicago and Nashville, must consider when others will enter the market. Toronto will undoubtedly be one of those teams, he wrote. While the Blackhawks and Predators may have an edge in terms of cap space and assets, the Leafs remain a team to watch as the season progresses. The Leafs situation is urgent, with up to 7 forwards currently unavailable due to injury or suspension. Ryan Reeves is serving a 5-game suspension, while key players like Austin Matthews, upper body, Matthew Knies, upper body, Kaye Jarnkrok, groin/sports hernia, David Kampf, lower body, Max Domi, lower body, and Max Pacioretty, lower body, are all sidelined. The team has even considered temporarily shifting Mitch Marner to the center position, highlighting the severity of their depth issues. This isn't just a short-term concern for the Leafs. Depth at center has been a persistent challenge for the team, and while stopgap solutions like Marner could help in the interim, the front office appears keen to explore longer-term fixes. For fans of the blue and white, this has been a recurring theme. The Leafs' center depth often becomes a problem at the worst possible times. James Myrtle of The Athletic recently added more fuel to the speculation, naming several potential trade targets who could help the Leafs address their issues. Among them is Ryan O'Reilly, a familiar name for Toronto fans. O'Reilly, who signed a 4-year, $18 million deal with Nashville in 2023, might be a trade candidate if the Predators' underwhelming start to the season, 6-11-3, 31st in the league, prompts a rebuild. However, his steep price tag and history with the Leafs, including rejecting a free agency offer less than 2 years ago, make this a complex and potentially unlikely move. Other names mentioned by Myrtle include former Leaf Nazem Kadri, currently with Calgary, as well as players like Michael Granlund, Nick Jugstad, Brock Nelson, Yanni Gourde, Trent Frederic, Radek Faksa, and Sean Kuraly. While some of these options seem more plausible than others, it's clear that general manager Brad Treliving will need to get creative to find the right piece without mortgaging the team's future. Cap space remains one of the biggest obstacles for the Leafs. Unlike teams like Chicago and Nashville, which have more flexibility and assets, Toronto is walking a financial tightrope. As Friedman noted, competition will intensify as cap-constrained teams strive to create room. For the Leafs, that could mean waiting for the market to develop further, a risky move given their current needs. The situation also highlights the Leafs' ongoing struggle to build a roster that can withstand the grueling nature of an NHL season. Injuries are an inevitability in hockey, but Toronto's current predicament underscores the importance of depth, a quality the team has struggled to consistently maintain. Looking back on recent years, the Leafs have often leaned heavily on their star players, particularly Matthews, Marner, and William Nylander. While these players have delivered in spades, the lack of reliable depth options has left the team vulnerable in critical moments. The current crisis at center is merely the latest example of this recurring issue. Some fans have called for more aggressive moves from Treliving, arguing that now is the time to strike while the team's core is in its prime. Others, however, are more cautious, pointing to the dangers of overpaying for short-term fixes. Striking the right balance will be key, especially as the Leafs aim to keep their championship window open. Despite the challenges, there's no denying that Toronto has the talent to be a contender, provided they can patch up their lineup. The ongoing rumors and speculation surrounding potential trades show that the Leafs are at least exploring every avenue to strengthen their roster. For fans of the blue and white, this moment feels like a pivotal point in the season. With a lineup ravaged by injuries and a tough schedule ahead, the Leafs must act decisively to avoid falling behind in the standings. The addition of a dependable center could be the difference between weathering the storm or watching another season slip away. Whether it's O'Reilly, Kadri, or another surprise name, one thing is certain: the Leafs are under pressure to deliver. And for a fan base as passionate and loyal as Toronto's, there's no room for excuses. The time to act is now, and Leafs Nation is watching closely. As the trade deadline approaches, the stakes couldn't be higher. Will Treliving pull off a move that solidifies the Leafs' status as a contender, or will the search for center depth become yet another chapter in the team's long history of what-ifs? Only time will tell, but one thing's for sure: it's never boring in Leafs land. As the Maple Leafs navigate this critical juncture, their fan base remains as vocal as ever. Toronto is a city that breathes hockey, and the pressure on Brad Treliving to make the right moves is immense. Every decision he makes, or doesn't make, will be scrutinized, from talk radio to social media, where Leafs Nation is already debating the merits of the various names being floated as potential trade targets. Among the louder debates is whether the team should prioritize a high-profile acquisition like Ryan O'Reilly or Nazem Kadri, or focus on a lower-cost, reliable center who can fill a supporting role without costing too many future assets. While O'Reilly's leadership and playoff experience make him an attractive option, his contract and recent history with the Leafs add layers of complexity to any potential reunion. Similarly, Kadri's gritty, two-way playstyle remains a fan favorite, but his cap hit and availability might render him an unrealistic target. Another factor complicating the Leafs situation is their tight salary cap. While Chicago and Nashville can make moves with relative ease due to their financial flexibility, Toronto must navigate a labyrinth of constraints to make any trade work. This likely means including salary retention or moving existing contracts to make room, which could drive up the cost of any potential deal. The question then becomes, how much are the Leafs willing to sacrifice to address their immediate needs? One potential trade partner generating buzz is the Seattle Kraken. Yanni Gourde, a dependable two-way center, has been mentioned as a possible target. Gourde's versatility and championship pedigree from his time with Tampa Bay make him an appealing option. Seattle, however, is in playoff contention and may not be inclined to part with a key piece unless the Leafs can provide a substantial return. Another intriguing name is Brock Nelson of the New York Islanders. Nelson is a consistent scorer and reliable faceoff-man, qualities that would undoubtedly bolster Toronto's center depth. However, the Islanders are notoriously cautious when it comes to trades, and prying Nelson away would likely require a significant package, including picks or prospects that the Leafs may be hesitant to part with. For all the trade talk, some analysts believe the solution might come from within. Sheldon Keefe has shown a willingness to experiment with his lineup, and players like Pontus Holmberg or Fraser Minten could be given an opportunity to step up. While relying on less experienced players carries risks, it might be the Leafs' only option if the trade market proves too costly or slow to develop. Adding to the Leafs' urgency is the timing. The Atlantic Division remains one of the toughest in the league, with teams like Boston, Florida, and Tampa Bay continuing to dominate. Any prolonged slump could see Toronto slip further down the standings, putting their playoff hopes in jeopardy. For a team with Stanley Cup aspirations, failing to address their weaknesses could have catastrophic consequences. Brad Treliving's history as a general manager suggests he's not afraid to make bold moves. His time with the Calgary Flames was marked by blockbuster trades, including the acquisition of Jonathan Huberdeau and Mackenzie Weegar in the Matthew Tkachuk deal. Leafs fans hope he brings that same decisiveness to Toronto, especially as the trade deadline looms. Beyond the immediate need for a center, this situation underscores a broader issue with the Leafs roster construction. Depth has been a perennial concern, and while Toronto boasts some of the league's top-end talent, their reliance on a handful of stars has left them vulnerable in moments like this. Moving forward, addressing this imbalance must be a priority for the front office if the team is to achieve sustained success. As the Leafs head into a critical stretch of the season, the next few weeks could define their trajectory.